Hari Om. Good morning.
Hari Om. Good morning.
Suprabhat. Okay. Let's start. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we'll begin today's class with any questions. Are there any questions? People like to ask any questions? No questions.
No questions means no chintan.
Correct. Sab Changasi. So in the last class we covered the concluding portion of the chapter Light of Wisdom. So if I just go back to the chronology of the chapters, in the last 3 chapters we've covered action, love, emotion, and knowledge, wisdom. The 3 elements of right living, the 3 elements you need to infuse into your life, the 3 levels of which you need to attend to your personality in order to uplift your own experience of life, be it in a material sense to improve your material well-being and your emotional well-being, your relationships. And beyond these worldly engagements, to align yourself towards a spiritual goal, you have to address your actions, your attitude in your actions. You have to address your emotions and the quality of your emotions. And you have to address knowledge and the attitude with which you pursue knowledge and the effort you put in to convert that knowledge into wisdom. These three elements have to be attended to. In Sanskrit, it's called karma, bhakti, jnana. Without them, the spiritual process is an empty shell. Rarely is spirituality approached with such a methodic approach. We throw in a little bit of mysticism, we throw in a little bit of bhakti, we throw in a little bit of seva, but we don't go to the depth of it. Seva is not something you do once in a while. Bhakti, bhajan, kirtan is not something you do once in a while. Forget knowledge. Nobody is interested in gaining knowledge. I'm saying this not to criticize, I'm just lamenting. The rare person is interested in gaining knowledge. Even among those who are interested in gaining knowledge, there's a word the Lord uses in chapter, is it 5 or is it 6? I think it's chapter 6. It's a word the Lord uses in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. He says, you are a jigyasu. Among everyone who comes to me, people come for to pray for their material well-being, people come to pray for their emotional well-being, and people come to satisfy the intellectual curiosity. And that was highlighted in the last chapter, where we said there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Most of us gain a lot of knowledge. Most of us gain a lot of knowledge. In fact, some of you, having attended these classes for years and years, now you'll be able to take this position of mine and conduct the class. I myself, for example, I've simply heard my guru so many times that I've become adept in taking these classes. But has that knowledge converted into wisdom? Only you will know. Because when it converts into wisdom, you live it. It will become you. So the rare person is interested in putting in that effort. The rare person is interested in going to the depths of bhakti. The rare person is interested in understanding the essence of karma. But these are essential. Religion, spirituality without these three pillars is a mockery. No matter how many ever times you want to go to Ram Lalla, and Matha Teko out there. No matter how many times you go, your spiritual process without getting into the depths of these three is a mockery. It's nothing. It has no meaning. So, what is all of this geared towards? This is all geared towards the culmination of human life. The spiritual process is intended to bring you to the culmination of human life. Culmination doesn't mean age of 97, Omji. Culmination doesn't mean a certain age. Culmination means a certain state. Culmination doesn't mean a certain age, because you've lived lives after lives. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Again and again, you've been born and dying and born and dying. And when the time comes to kick the bucket, sooner rather than later, hopefully later, but there will come a time. The rare one will complete their journey out here, but then again, most of us will continue. So culmination doesn't mean a certain age, it means a certain state. Spiritual edification, spiritual education is meant to bring you to that culmination. That's why the subject is called Vedanta. Veda Anta, the culmination, the end of knowledge. It is that knowledge which brings you to the culmination of your life. So, the next chapter we will discuss is an apt conclusion to what we have been discussing about the spiritual process of action, devotion, and knowledge. Action, devotion, and knowledge, karma, bhakti, jnana, are meant to take you to that culmination of human life. So, this chapter begins with a discussion on what is the very role of religion. Yes, the role of religion is to keep you connected to a community. The role of religion is to help you manage your life. No doubt, indeed. But ultimately, what is the role of religion? Ultimately, what is the role of religion? This is what he will discuss to start this chapter, to start this discussion on the culmination of life.
Chapter 8, Culmination of Human Life. The role of religion. The word religion is derived from two Latin terms, re and ligare. Re means back again. Ligare means to bind, join. Religion is meant to unite one back to one's origin, the Supreme Self. Every human being is born with inherent desires which separate him from the self. The self within is the abode of absolute knowledge, peace, and bliss. So are you born divorced from the self. Having lost the core of your personality, you have meandered into its enveloping sheets of the body, mind, and intellect. You are now caught up in the maze of perception, emotion, and thought. Religion, divested of its dogmatic outgrowths, essentially relieves you from the persecutions of your material equipments and reveals your spiritual self. It is a mysterious process by which your mind intellect traces back and loses itself in the inscrutable source, Atman, the Supreme Self, the soul of all religion. Religion, therefore, is used to regain your lost identity with yourself, attain the ultimate spiritual enlightenment.
So the word religion comes from re-legare, to join back. Incidentally, the word yoga comes from the root yuj, which means to connect, to join. So etymologically, the words are very similar. The word for religion in Hinduism, in this culture, is yoga. Yoga is not just halasana. Yoga is not just paschimottanasana. Yoga is not just the asanas. Those are yoga asanas, no doubt. Asanas have a role from a physiological perspective. But yoga is a more umbrella term to talk about this journey, the spiritual journey, the religious journey. You'll find a lot of people say, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. Till today, I don't know what that means. Huh? Yeah, there are wrong ways of practicing religion. There are stupid ways of practicing religion. But religion and spirituality are the same thing. Religion and spirituality are the same thing. What you probably mean is, I'm trying to not practice religion in the wrong way. Or I'm trying to, but I still don't know what that means. So the word religion, the word yoga, they have the same source. The idea is you are joining back. Joining back to what? Joining back to what? If you're joining back, what are you joining back to? It means you've been separated from something. If you have to join back to something, it means you've been separated from it. So there's an idea of a separation. You have lost something. You have been separated from something. What is that thing which you have been lost, which you have lost, which you have been separated from, and what you have to join back to. In Vedanta, we say you have lost your true self, you have lost your own identity, you've lost the knowledge of who you truly are. You know not who you are. You know not who you are, and you have imagined yourself to be this individuality, this person, this ego. And tracing back from this ego back to your real source, the Atman, your true self, that process is called yoga. I repeat, you've lost your true identity. You've imagined yourself to be this individuality, this ego. It's imagination. It's an imagination, just like you imagine yourself in the dream to be a dreamer. The moment you go to sleep, you enter the dream. When you enter the dream, immediately you project a dreamer, means a dream individual, experiencing a dream world. The dreamer is going to the dream school, the dreamer is going to the dream college, the dreamer is going to the dreamer is having a dream marriage, the dreamer is having a dream holiday. The dreamer is experiencing the dream world. It's all seeming so real while you're dreaming. The moment you wake up, you realize what? It was just an imagination. The dreamer and the dream, both were just an imagination. Interesting point. Not only is the dream an imagination, even the dreamer is the imagination. The dreamer with all his dream thoughts, the dreamer with all his dream experiences, the dreamer with all his dream body. Huh? How do you corroborate that? What I'm just saying, that the dreamer is also imaginary. What? Suppose you, in the dream, you face an injury. You get a scar somewhere on your face or something. Do you wake up with that scar on your face? Huh? In the dream, you're terrified. Oh, I got a scar on my face. You don't wake up with that scar. Why? Because the dream individuality is different from the waking individuality. So just as you imagine yourself to be a dreamer experiencing the dream world, right now you have imagined yourself to be this individuality, this waker, this waking personality experiencing the waking world. It's a maze. It's a maze. You're caught up in this maze of perception, emotion, and thought, of the experiences of your body, mind, and intellect. You're caught up in it. The role of Vedanta is to draw you back and take you inward to find your true identity. It's a mystery. See, no matter how much we try to resist it, this is a mystical process. It's a mystical process. We just caution that don't become too mystical too quick. Shanai Shanai, and Bhagavad Gita says, take it slowly, otherwise you'll go mad. It's easy to go crack in this. You have to take it slowly, take it steadily, gradually. But nonetheless, the role of religion is to help you regain your lost identity. That is called enlightenment. Enlightenment is nothing but realizing your true identity. Enlightenment means becoming enlightened about who you truly are. It all might sound like gibberish to you. You say, I've lived 50 years, 60 years. Some people will say, I've lived 90 years. You're telling me I am not Yashu? I think you need to go to an asylum. I spent too much time in this class. I was wrong about you, Utsav. I think you have to go to an asylum. My God, all this time you were making sense. I was really enjoying these classes, but now I think I'm in the wrong place. If you're not thinking that, I'll be scared. You should be thinking that, because it is a scary thought. If you're not thinking that, either you're not paying attention. It is a little bit of a scary thought. As scriptures say, Yah pashyati saha pashyati. Those who see it. Either this thought will grab your attention, you'll fall in love with this thought, or you'll feel very uncomfortable about it and shelve it. Two things will happen. Either you feel uncomfortable about it or you shelve it, and that's also to each their own. You have to be ready to engage in this. Or you'll fall in love with this thought. You'll fall in love with this idea. My job is the latter, to make you feel the latter. Because that is the role of religion. To make you meet yourself. To free you from your false identity. To free you from your individuality, from your ego. Yes, Omji, you have a question. Or
Here, the definition of the religion is given, of course, it looks like same. What we understand is dharma. Religion को हम धर्म समझते हैं. Dharma means the property of the soul, you can say. Property. When property means the action, what it is supposed to do and all that. But here it is given very in a different way. Although it is written unite back to the original same supreme self. He has written in the second line, supreme self. But we understand religion as a dharma. So what is the difference between religion and dharma? The meaning of, is dharma not a good translation of a religion or what?
so every word has a certain connotation in a certain context. Fundamentally, religion is a process, right? Fundamentally speaking, religion is a process. Now, to execute that process, so religion in this sense is equated to yoga, the process of joining back. Now, to pursue religion, to follow religion, the prescription of religion is dharma. The prescription of religion is a certain set of practices, is a certain approach to your life, is a certain guidance on how you should deal with yourself, with situations. And all of those encapsulate dharma. So any religion has two aspects. It has a philosophy and the rituals surrounding that philosophy. Right? So the core philosophy, the heart of the philosophy is yoga. What supports yoga is dharma. See, dharma separated from yoga has no meaning. Dharma separated from yoga has no meaning. The purpose of dharma is to keep one aligned on the path of yoga. Keep one aligned to the spiritual process. As a consequence of that, things are maintained. As a consequence of that, the world is taken care of. As a consequence of that, you're able to manage things and situations. But the fundamental purpose of dharma is to maintain yoga. So you understand the nuance. Dharma is a prescription of religion, a prescription of yoga. To be on the yogic path, you ought to follow the prescription of dharma. So that's why it's used interchangeably, because dharma is a part of religion, a part of yoga, a part of the umbrella, right?
It is a step.
It's an inseparable aspect of it. Huh? If religion is termed as a process, dharma is the prescription to help you stay aligned in that process. Follow that process. So धर्म के मार्ग में आप चलोगे तो आप एक डेस्टिनेशन तक पहुंचोगे. To take you to that destination, the journey is called religion. Dharma is perhaps the road. So the purpose of religion is to help you rediscover your lost identity, to make you meet yourself. And he continues.
State of being lies within you. Yourself, Atman, Brahman, is supreme. You will have to transcend the limitation of your body, mind, and intellect to reach yourself. The sense organs of the body cannot perceive it, nor the emotions of the mind feel it, nor the thoughts of the intellect conceive it. Yourself is the subject, not the object of experience. Hence, you cannot contact the self with your material equipments. You can only become the self by pursuing the spiritual path, like the dreamer becoming the waker. The dreamer also cannot perceive, feel, or conceive the waker with the dream body, mind, and intellect. The dreamer can only transform himself into the waker. The role of religion is to bring about the transformation from the waking state to self-realization. That is the goal of human existence. You then become all-knowing, all-blissful. Your body, mind, and intellect transact pleasure, love, and knowledge, but they cannot provide you with ultimate satisfaction, contentment, fulfillment in life. The more pleasures your body indulges in, the more you seek. Likewise, the more love your mind is involved in, the more you want. So does your intellect crave for more and more knowledge. There is no end to sensual gratification, emotional contentment, or intellectual satisfaction. Hence, all the happiness derived from material equipments is limited, wanting. You can never find satiation through these avenues. For attaining the absolute happiness, you will have to go beyond the precincts of your body, mind, and intellect and reach the self within. Therein lies the absolute happiness that you seek in vain in the external world.
Ya pashyati sah pashyati. Those who see this, see this. And until you come to see this, you will not be able to immerse yourself on the journey. I'm not criticizing you. This is a statement of fact. The rare person has truly understood this. That the world cannot provide you with ultimate satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment. Who among you believes that? The moment you believe that, you'll be completely immersed in your spiritual process. The moment you believe that the world cannot provide you with that satisfaction, contentment that you are looking for. See, some of you may believe, the world cannot provide ultimate satisfaction, but it can provide the satisfaction that I'm looking for. I don't want ultimate, मेरे को उतना नहीं चाहिए. But जो मुझे चाहिए वो दुनिया मुझे दे सकती है. That's the belief. वो भी नहीं दे सकती दुनिया. Because आप जो चाहते हो वो ultimate है, whether you believe it or not, whether you agree with it or not. And until and unless you come to truly suspect this, you will not be able to take further steps on the spiritual journey. The role of knowledge, the role of our engagement, the role of karma bhakti jnana is to bring you to that conviction. Is to bring you to that conviction.
But in reality, actually, I don't know what I want.
Hmm?
I don't know what I want.
You've run out of things to want. You thought you knew what you wanted. जब वो मिल गया तो समझ भी नहीं आया यार, इतनी खुशी तो मिली नहीं. हाँ.
As you said, that with the things of the world, you want them, you get them, you become happy for some time, and then that happiness wears off. So what you said now, you are looking for something ultimate. So I really don't know what ultimate I'm looking for.
No. You're looking for fulfillment. Hmm? It's not a thing. The ultimate is not a thing. Hmm? आपको फिजिकल प्लेजर चाहिए, उसमें आपको फुल फिजिकल प्लेजर चाहिए. आपको इंटेलेक्चुअल प्लेजर चाहिए, उसमें आपको फुल, आपको नाम और रिस्पेक्ट चाहिए, उसमें आपको फुल नाम और रिस्पेक्ट चाहिए. That's the meaning of ultimate. That's the meaning of infinite. Because you are infinite. Problem is the world cannot provide you with that. You have to have experience of this to gain the suspicion. Until and unless you satisfy yourself to some limit and realize that this is not really what I thought it would be. Hmm? Which is why, as it is said, you cannot feed spirituality to a person with an empty stomach. थोड़ा पेट उनका भरना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा पेट भरना पड़ेगा, तभी जाके ये ऐसी चर्चा कर पाएंगे. If and पेट भरना doesn't mean taking a malnourished person and feeding them. If you have too many desires, it means your stomach is empty. Meaning what? That if you have too many desires, this won't appeal to you. You will be lost in your pursuits. Only a person who's had sufficient experience will be able to appreciate this. Now, sufficient experience doesn't come at a certain age, because you've lived many lives before this. A young Adi Shankaracharya at age of 7 can have the conviction that the world cannot provide him the satisfaction. Where does that conviction come from? It comes from his past experiences. So we're not talking about a certain age. Experience to sadiyon se ho raha hai, janmo se ho raha hai. But for you and me, perhaps the experience is not enough. Experience more. जाओ खेलो दुनिया में, ऐश करो. Swami Chinmayananda told a student who wanted to join the ashram, have you had a girlfriend? Have you indulged in pleasure? Have you earned a lot of money? Have you lost a lot of money? Have you indulged in the world? Have you seen the joys that the world has to provide? जब तक आप वो देखोगे नहीं, तब तक आपको ये बात समझ में नहीं आएगी. So go. Experience the world and find out, realize that it is limited. Because until and unless you come to the conviction, no matter what, how many ever gurus tell you, no matter who comes and says, today you may say, okay, so you think it is one thing, okay, let me hear it from the masters. Even the masters will come and tell you this. It won't make a difference. You have to come to the conviction yourself that the world cannot provide you with the ultimate satisfaction that you are looking for. And you are looking for it, whether you agree with it or not. कितना पैसा कमा लोगे? How much is enough? How much pleasure is enough? How much respect and name is enough? How much intellectual satisfaction is enough? How much emotional satisfaction? family and pleasure is enough. How much? Give me an amount. Tathastu, we'll give it to you. When you're a pauper, you think a lakh of rupees is enough. When you've got a lakh of rupees, you think 10 lakhs will be enough. When you have 10 lakhs, you think a crore will be enough. When you have a crore, you think 20 crores will be enough. I just want enough to buy a few luxury properties. That's what you'll think. Then for money, it'll shift. He'll say, money is money. It's okay. यार पैसे में क्या है? You'll want power. You'll want position. You'll want influence. You'll want fame. Those who have been saturated with money look for these things. When you get saturated with power, you want to become God itself. You want to be worshipped. There's no end to it. And still you will not be satiated. That's the symbolism of the fight between Lord Vishnu and the Asuras.
एक्चुअली ये दो स्टेजेस में आता है. एक तो पहला स्टेज होता है ऊबना. बहुत पैसा भी आने के बाद आदमी ऊब जाता है, थक जाता है कि बस अब खत्म. उसके बाद आता है रिनंसिएशन. छोड़ देता है कि बस इसमें कुछ भी नहीं रखा. तो दैट इज एक्चुअली उसके बाद आदमी का विवेक जागता है.
My wish and hope is that it was automatic. अगर ये automatic होता तो I agree with you. There is a certain progression to that. But this is not a rule. Yes, this may be a general progression, but this is not a rule. अगर ये automatic होता, then all the billionaires would be saints. If that was true, then all billionaires would be saints. It's far from the truth. So there is no quantum and there is no automatic process. Yes, a sufficient amount of experience is perhaps needed to appreciate this. But वो experience शायद आपकी पुनर्जन्मी हो गई है. So what Vedanta tries is simply putting out the knowledge there. Those who are able to resonate with it, those who are able to appreciate it, will take it up. But the fact remains that you have to come to this conclusion yourself, no matter who says this. Swami Chinmayananda can be saying this. He said it for years and years and years. Adi Shankaracharya said it for years and years and years. The Buddha said it for years and years and years. So the more pleasures you indulge in, the more you will want. That's the nature of desire. The nature of desire. It's called Rakt Beej. जहाँ बीज गिरती है वहाँ से और निकलते हैं, फूट के निकलते हैं. So the more you indulge in, the more you'll want. That's the nature of desire. This is not a criticism, it's a statement of fact. Whether it's your material, whether it's your physical, whether it's your emotional desires, or it's your intellectual desires. You might grow tired of certain things, you might want different things. किसी से मन उठ गया, किसी चीज से मन उठ गया, आप थोड़ा और बड़ा चाहते हो, किसी और चीज को चाहते हो, किसी और पर्सन को चाहते हो. So the point he's trying to make is there is no end to it. And that conclusion you have to come to. When you develop that suspicion that there is no end to this, that's when your spiritual journey starts. Until then, it doesn't start. If you still believe that the pleasure lies in the world, what I'm looking for, it's called bhoga. I've said this before. The step between bhoga and yoga. आप भोग से योग में कब आते हो? जब आप में ये सस्पिशन आ जाती है, शायद जो मैं ढूंढ रहा हूं वो दुनिया में नहीं है, शायद मेरी जो ये इच्छा है ये दुनिया पूरी नहीं कर सकती. Maybe this.
Sorry, I had a fortune of actually meeting Swamiji also. In 1960s, he came to Rourkela and he was giving a lecture. And he was such a forceful speaker that he kindled actually the spiritualism in me, I think, to some extent. Then I thought we should know much more Then we were very young and all that. But at the same time, then again I met him in some other place, I think Delhi or Amritsar. I don't know. But twice I have seen him. He was extremely forceful speaker, very emotional. But he kindled a desire, a avidity to learn spiritualism. That was the beauty of that Swamiji. Swami Chinmayananda, I'm talking.
Indeed. Wonderful. He was quite an incredible speaker, no doubt, and very magnetic personality. So, coming back to our discussion, the purpose of religion is to help you reach the self, and an important essential step in this is to come to this realization, come to the suspicion that there is no end to sensual, material, emotional, intellectual gratification in the world. Until and unless you come to that suspicion, your spiritual journey will not progress. It will not go ahead. But the mass of humanity is lost in the pleasures of the world. He continues.
However, the mass of humanity perceive the pleasure and joy in the objects and beings of the world. People actually experience it. Hence, they go after it. But these objects and beings present only a false glamour of pleasure and joy. They inherently lack it. This truth is never accepted as people claim their experience to be just the contrary. Even those who profess to know the truth are not well established in it. They understand it academically, not really to live by it. Hence, it becomes virtually impossible to convince people of the absurdity of worldly pursuits, while they firmly believe in and continue to draw their share of happiness from it. This strange phenomenon of deriving happiness from where it does not exist is well portrayed in the reflection of light. The sun above is one, while the reflections of the sun are innumerable in the countless reflecting media in the universe. There is light in the sun alone. The reflections have no light inherent in them. You appreciate this when you get close and examine them carefully. So it is with the objects and beings of the world. They do not contain any pleasure or joy. It is the bliss of the self that is reflected in them. What you enjoy is the reflected bliss. You will realize this when your intellect gets closer and examines them, that the bliss is within you, not in the external world.
See, today is a full moon night. Huh? Today is a full moon night. You go out today in the evening, all the street lights will be off, and still you'll be able to see clearly. You should go out on a full moon night. It's beautifully lit, despite there being darkness. The same moon on a moonless night. The same moon on a moonless night when there's no light being reflected because of certain positions of the moon vis-a-vis the sun. The moon being the same, sometimes it appears to give light, sometimes there's no light. So when you see the light coming from the moon on a full moon night, you think, oh, there's light on the moon. There's light coming from the moon, isn't it? It's helping you. On a full moon night, you'll be able to walk around without feeling scared. You'll be able to walk without, tripping on things and bumping into things and hurting yourself. The same moon doesn't provide light when it's a moonless night. So the moon being the same sometimes gives light, sometimes doesn't give light. Why? Because there is no light inherent in it. The same object gives pleasure sometimes and sometimes it doesn't give pleasure. Hmm? At the beginning of the meal, the first bite of the food gives so much pleasure. At the end of the meal, I say, let's order one more. No, 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 I've had enough. No, you have to have it. And I'll stuff that same dish in your face. I'll force you, I'll force feed you. Where's the pleasure? The object being the same, at one point it appears to give pleasure, at another point it's agonizing. Huh? See, this happens all the time in restaurants, especially with my family. We'll go to a restaurant, we'll order a starter, and we'll love it. Oh, wow, amazing. Yes, 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 yes. And in that excitement, we'll say, और मंगवाओ. तो और मंगवाओगे, जब तक और आएगा तो सब दूसरा और सब खाना सबने खा लिया होगा. जब तक वो दूसरी बार आएगा, एंड तब तक सबका पेट भरा हुआ होगा. अरे अब कैसे खा सकते हैं? सेम स्टार्टर. नहीं, वेस्ट मत करो, वेस्ट मत करो. सो दिल पिक आउट पीपल लाइक मी, वेस्ट मत करो, वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहिए. ऑल दीज मॉरल्स आर फॉर द किड्स ऑफ द फैमिली. वेस्ट नहीं करना. सो दिल फोर्स फीड इट टू यू. The same food which was so pleasurable 20 minutes ago. Forget food, imagine people. You meet someone after months, so much pleasure, so much pleasure. Your cousins, your sister is coming from abroad, you're meeting her after 6 months, so much pleasure. She said, I'm coming this time for a long time, for 3 months, me and my husband will stay in your house. After a month, you're saying, thinking to yourself, अरे दफा हो यार. Punjabi say, दफा हो. You don't say it to them, you say it in your mind. Give it 2 months, there'll be a fight. 2 महीने रहो तो एक झगड़ा तो जरूर होगा. The same person who gave so much pleasure when you met them after months and months and months, you can't stand their face after 2 months. Why don't they go?
उद्धव जी, मैं आपको बहुत सिंपल एग्जांपल देता हूं. इसको उदर विराग भी बोलते हैं. विराग, जब पेट भर जाता है तो खाने को दिल नहीं करता. कितना भी आदमी ठूस नहीं सकता. आदमी बोलता है छोड़ो यार, अब क्या रखा है. मैं एक और आपको सिंपल एग्जांपल बताता हूं कि अगर आपका कोई दोस्त आया है, बहुत दिनों के बाद, सालों के बाद मिला है, आप उसके गले मिलेंगे. पहले आप गले मिलेंगे, 2 मिनट के बाद आप बोलेंगे अरे हट यार तू. फिर आप अगर गले लगे रहें, लगे रहें, लगे रहें, 1 घंटा लगे रहें, आप ऊब जाएंगे. हैप्पीनेस कहाँ गई फिर?
Indeed.
वो हैप्पीनेस नहीं है, ये भी विराग ही है. ये भी एक तरह का ऊबना है. ऊब जाता है आदमी, खुशी से भी ऊब जाता है.
So
अब
what Vedanta says is,
एक चीज और मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है वो. आपने चांद की बात की. आपको मालूम है कि जब सनराइज होता है सुबह और सनसेट होता है, पेपर में भी आता होगा, आप देख लीजिए एक दफा. सनराइज सनसेट का जो फर्क, सनराइज का जो टाइम है डे टू डे, 1-2 मिनट का ही फर्क होगा, 5 मिनट का फर्क होगा. बट मून राइज का जो टाइम है, जो आज है और वो कल में, 57 मिनट का फर्क होता है. आप कैलकुलेट करके देख लीजिए. एवरी डे द मून राइज goes on shifting by 57 मिनट. इसीलिए जो आपने बोला है कि जो आज एक्चुअली पूर्णमासी कल है, पर आज फुल मून भी लगता है, देखने में लगता है. रात को 10 बजे के बाद पूर्णमासी है. तो जो पूर्णमासी है, ये धीरे 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 शिफ्ट होती जाती है. मतलब उसका टाइम भी पीछे होता जाता है. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. कभी भी आप पेपर में देख लीजिए, कैलकुलेट भी कर लीजिए. 57 minute difference will be day from day to day. This is just an information.
Correct. So coming back to the concept, the idea is that हम सोचते नहीं हैं. हम जो immediately experience करते हैं, तो हमें लगता है कि जो खुशी है, जो joy है, जो pleasure है, वो उस object से आ रही है, उस person से आ रही है. We don't think about it. We rarely analyze analytically, anatomically the experience. Where's the pleasure coming from? So what Vedanta says is the pleasure is not in the object per se. The mass of humanity doesn't think, because contrary to their experience, what they experience immediately is, oh, I'm meeting someone, or I'm eating something, or I'm seeing something, and it's giving me pleasure. But they don't analyze that pleasure is not permanent. They don't analyze that pleasure fluctuates with one's own state of being. Please understand this. Please understand this. Suppose I bring you your favorite chocolate, favorite food. You'll be so happy. Oh, so thoughtful of you, so wonderful, so great. Now, suppose there's been a terrible accident in your family, there's been some terrible news. I don't know about it. I come to your house with your favorite food. Will you be able to eat it? You'll politely decline. You'll be like, you'll send someone to give me the news. Same food. Shouldn't it give you the same amount of pleasure? What's different? Your state of mind is different. So, what determines whether something will give you pleasure or not is not the object itself, it's you. The state of pleasure or displeasure, the state of joy or sorrow lies within you, not in the object. That's what Vedanta is trying to say. The light is within you, not in the object. So let's go. I'm going to explain this concept. It's a very important concept. Please understand this. If there's one thing you have to learn, please learn this. The extent to which you enjoy or gain pleasure from anything, it could be an object, it could be a person, it could be anything, an idea, is the quantum of desires that have been satiated through it. I repeat, the quantum of desires that have been satiated through a particular experience will determine the quantum of pleasure. Which is why when you want something a lot and you get it, there's a lot of pleasure. When you want something a little bit and you get it, there's little pleasure. The object being the same, the quantum of desires you entertain for it, when that quantum is satiated, that determines the quantum of pleasures. Which is why when you don't have a desire for something and if you get it, big deal. Big deal. Which is why when you indulge in something again and again and again and again, what have you lost? You've lost the very desire for it. And when you lose the desire for something, even having it gives no pleasure. You've lost the desire to go out and eat because it's become such a mundane experience now. 25, 30 years ago, I still remember going out and eating was such a... And to the terrible... You won't even think of going to such places again. I remember there used to be one restaurant in this club in Calcutta. It wouldn't even count among the mediocre restaurants of today. But I still remember how exciting it was to go there. But today, because it's become so commonplace, we want to eat at home. We don't want to go out. It's become a burden. We are paying money to suffer when we go out to eat. That's the irony. That's the funny part. So your state of mind, your state of desires will determine whether an object or an experience will give you pleasure or give you pain. The joy lies within you. So when you have too many desires and you fulfill it, there's a lot of pleasure. Happiness is the cessation of mental agitation. This is what I want to convey to you. This is the definition of happiness. Happiness is the cessation of mental agitation. Now, there's two ways to gain happiness. It's to build up all this mental agitation, build up all this desire and try to fulfill it. That's one way. Hype up your desires and then put in all the effort to fulfill it. The other approach, the one that Vedanta professes, eliminate the hype itself, eliminate the very desire itself. The state of desirelessness is joy. The state of cessation of desire is joy, is bliss. So there's two ways to be in a state of bliss. Either to fulfill the desire or to eradicate the desire. Now you choose what you want. Most people will choose to fulfill the desire because they can't do the latter. The latter is more effort until they grow tired of that desire itself. Uh, but the moment once, by the time they grow tired of the desire, it's too late. थक गया हूं मैं.
So, but if I have the vasana for that desire, for that thing, so how will I get rid of that desire? The question remains the same.
If you have too many vasanas for something, you will not be able to get rid of the desire immediately. You'll have to regulate it, moderate it. You'll have to, ultimately, you'll have to become sakshi to it.
What do you mean by sakshi to the vasana?
You have to become sakshi. It's your body experiencing it. It's your body entangled in it, not you. It's your mind entangled in it, not you. It's your prarabdha, you can say. It's something your individuality has to go through. But you completely disassociate yourself from it. But that's a little more advanced of a concept. Short answer is, if you have too many vasanas for something, you won't be able to eliminate or eradicate this desire so easily. At best, you can regulate and moderate it. Because letting a desire, you know very well, letting a desire run amok itself has its own consequences, has its own problems, right? But coming back to the concept, the idea of happiness, the strange phenomenon is that contrary to our experience, even though immediately from our experience it appears that we are meeting something, we are seeing something, we are acquiring something, and it's giving us joy. The joy doesn't lie in the object. The joy is not in the object, it's in you. It's in your state of being. It's in your state of mind. Think about this.
जो हैप्पीनेस माइंड को शांत कर दे वही वही असली हैप्पीनेस है. जो मन को हमेशा एजिटेटेड करके रखे वो कोई हैप्पीनेस नहीं है, क्योंकि डिजायर की कोई लिमिट ही नहीं है. तो जो शांत कर दे, एकदम स्थिर कर दे शांति को, वही हैप्पीनेस है.
Indeed.
Nevertheless, people devote all their time and energy to worldly acquisition and enjoyment. They spend their lifetime in acquiring material wealth and trying to find enjoyment in what they have acquired. So are the ignoramuses lost in the world seeking the bliss of the self in its reflected images. Succumbing to peer pressure, you follow the same pattern of life. Your worldly pursuits sooner or later lead to despair. You remain confused and confounded. You need not lie low in this state of despair. Wake up to the realities of life. Get wiser with the eternal truths. Use your intellect to examine the objects and beings that seem to have pleasure and joy. Study them carefully. Understand their hollowness and look for the real source of happiness within you. Seek the Supreme Self, the abode of eternal peace and bliss. William Cowper portrays the mad pursuits of the human race in his magnificent poem, The Pineapple and the Bee. The poem draws the parallel of human desires with those of a bee. A bee tries in vain to go through the glass frame to consume the pineapples arrayed there in triple row. After wasting half the day, it takes its flight another way. The poet compares the futile attempts of the bee to a man who desires the companionship of a woman passing by in a chariot. He complains of the chariot glass that separates them. In another comparison, the poet describes a maid's desire for the jewelry behind a show glass. Both man and woman consume half their lifetime pursuing endless desires for peace and pleasure. They crave for possession and enjoyment of worldly things and beings at the physical, mental, and intellectual levels. That is subtly indicated by the triple row of pineapples. Some linger with vain hopes without doing anything about it, while others break barriers and meet with serious consequences. None realizes that the solution lies in looking within. The poet concludes brilliantly that the wise who have imbibed the truths of life can find bliss in the worst of environment and circumstance.
So we'll cover this poem in the next class, but it's a beautiful poem. It's a beautiful poem, and unfortunately, we don't have enough time for it today. But coming back to our discussion, concluding our discussion, what we have talked about today, getting the suspicion that the world will not provide you what you're truly looking for is the very foundation of the spiritual process. Is the distinction between bhoga and yoga. But the rare person comes to that conviction, develops that conviction. To develop the conviction, you need knowledge. Knowledge is an essential part. You have to have an understanding of the anatomy of an experience itself. To understand where does enjoyment come from. And enjoyment, as we've discussed just right now, is not in the object per se. Pleasure is not in the object per se. It's in you. It's in your state of mind. It's in your state of, it's in the way in which you approach objects. But this is difficult to convey to a person. The best the masters can do is simply talk about it with the hope that people reflect upon this. The rare person reflects upon this. They're caught up in worldly pursuits. And worldly pursuits are of broadly two kinds. You are looking to acquire something, and thereafter looking to consume what you have acquired with the hope of enjoyment. You're looking to acquire things, and thereafter consume what you've acquired with the hope of enjoyment. So you're looking for acquisition and enjoyment. And there are broadly two kinds of things. Everything that you want to acquire and enjoy can be classified into two things: Kanchana and Kamini. Adi Shankaracharya uses these words: Kanchana and Kamini. Gold and woman. Gold represents material pursuits, the pursuit of wealth, the pursuit of money. And Kamini represents your enjoyments, sensual enjoyments, emotional enjoyments. You try to pursue Kanchana with the hope of acquiring more Kamini. Huh? Why do you want money? With the money, you want to go to the best restaurants, have the best experiences, meet the best people, find the best partner, have the best life, have the best family. So all your worldly pursuits are a process of acquisition and enjoyment of Kanchana and Kamini. And it descends into madness. Because there's no limit to this. If you don't proceed with it in regulation, if you don't proceed with it in moderation, if you don't proceed with it with a higher goal in mind, there's no end to this. And that madness is reflected in this poem, The Pineapple and the Bee, which we will take up in the next class. See, had this not been true, I wouldn't have a job. Had this not been madness, I wouldn't have a job as a Vedanta teacher. Vedanta wouldn't be needed. Had there not been a problem with acquisition and enjoyment, had there not been this paradox, had it been so that more acquisition and more enjoyment will lead to more pleasure, had life been so simple, then nobody would have needed Vedanta. Huh? But that suspicion you have to develop by yourself.
जो
और
नशा वेदांत में है वो पैसे में नहीं है।
वो अलग बात है जी। हाँ, वो तो अलग बात है। हाँ, आई थिंक गुरबानी में कहते हैं ना,
कहते हैं पैसा खुदा तो नहीं है,
नशे उतर जाते
खुदा
जब
से कम
होती
नहीं है।
प्रभात। वो कहते गुरबानी में ऐसे गाती है, आई थिंक।
नहीं नहीं, ये भी कहते हैं ना कि पैसा खुदा तो नहीं है लेकिन
खुदा से
खुदा
कम
से कम
नहीं।
नहीं है।
हाँ, वो जो अंधे होते हैं वो ऐसा कहते हैं।
अंधे नहीं।
तो जो जिन्होंने खुदा खुदा को नहीं जाना, जिन्होंने खुदा को नहीं पाया, वो ऐसे कहते हैं। बट जो आप वेदांत की नशे की बात कर रहे हो, अध्यात्म की नशे की बात कर रहे हो, गुरबानी में आती है, सारे नशे उतर जाते जब होती प्रभात।
हाँ वो तो है।
सारे नशे उतर जाते जब होती प्रभात, नाम कुमारी नान का चढ़े रहे दिन रात।
दिन रात, या करेक्ट।
If you want true pleasure, if you want a permanent high, forget all your intoxicants.
या
uh, Forget all your whiskeys and your wines and your drugs. You want the real drug?
स्पिरिचुअलिटी का मीनिंग भी तो यही है ना, स्पिरिट भी तो उसमें ही है ना।
Acha, let's not descend into that. You want the real drug? It's this. Anyway, we'll take up this poem, The Pineapple and the Bee, in the next class. Thank you so much. With that thought, we'll conclude today and we'll see you on Monday. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Hari Om.
हरिओम।
Thank you so